Welcome to the mind of LANCESCURV, the most creatively profound man in cyberspace.
Welcome back, Mr. Political. I know you have something profound to say, several profound things, because I've been watching the news a little bit, but I don't extract as much out of it like you do, because you know your stuff and you know what you're looking at. And you have the ability to tie things in and see things ahead of time long before they happen. So I'm very interested in hearing what you have to say today. And I know it's going to be something shocking. Brother, welcome on in. It's always a pleasure. Enlighten us.
Yes, Lance, thank you so much. This is your boy, Mr. Political. I've had an opportunity today to pick up a book. This book is titled The Negro Spiritual. This Negro Spiritual, which I am reading, and it has certain aspects of it that tells us the future of America. Unfortunately, the ending of this book, which I'm going to skip to and give you a summary of the ending of this book, and it doesn't look good. It's not a fairy tale of a happy ending. It's not a fairy tale of a compromise. It is a fairy tale which will come true to a neighborhood near you of the replacement theory, the Negro Spiritual. This replacement theory has been anthem from coast to coast. And as I drink my coffee and start again on a bad habit called cigarettes because my nerves is bad, and like Sam Cooke, I have a troubling mind. Not because I cannot understand, but because I do understand. Unlike my brethren, the Afro-Americans, who are still waiting for the other shoe to drop as the rat eat the rat. These are all titles of shows that I've done at the pleasure at Mr. LANCESCURV. Mr. LANCESCURV, I'm going to just tell you a little bit of the Negro Spiritual. This Negro Spiritual starts in Chicago, it starts in Denver, it starts in Boston, it starts in New York, it starts in Memphis, it starts wherever the bastion of the Afro-American lives, where the Black American is being held hostage. Yes, that individual who is the seed of over 400 years of oppression in one form or another. Others may see it as we are the fortunate ones, but we're not. In Chicago, it's turning into a ghost town. Unlike San Francisco, this ghost town is being created by migrants. These migrants, which by the Democratic Party is supposed to be our friend, supposed to be our savior, and that it is in our best interest to share with individuals who call us lazy. Now, we're supposed to take this in stride. We're professional victims, all right? We have created an offshoot of Black America called the Afro-Americans, who holds this victimhood close to their heart. But when you look at other races in America, not migrants, but races, they are not taking what is occurring to heart. They're not finding a similarity in individuals who have not contributed to America. And knowing that the Black American has contributed more than any other race other than the American Indian, and then we go down the line with the Italians and the Irish and the Chinese. And yes, the Chinese have contributed. They have contributed to the point that they helped build the railroad. They helped establish the West Coast capital, San Francisco. But those days are gone. Those individual races are under attack because they are American. As we view the media and watch the increase of attack upon police, which by some perspective is warranted You reap what you sow, and every chicken comes home to roost. These are all old Negro sayings which are usually said to cut down on the conversation. And the conversation is the Negro spiritual. And why, among all races in America, do they feel a necessary need to always be the savior of those who do not contribute to their advancement? Now, these migrants across the board are looking at 9 cities, $11 trillion. $11 trillion. That's where we're at. Now, being a black American, I'm going to be selfish. Where is my check? If you got $11 trillion to give to individuals who not served in the military, have not marched in the streets, have not swung in the wind of hemp, and had not been denied the right to have their children put on shoes after white people, that they had to take their shoes off, even their socks, and put it upon a cardboard box so a marker can outline their feet to see if the shoes will fit. We are some compassionate people that we would take continuous slights, but this slight, this $11 trillion slight, is enough. Even the people in Ireland, when they're confronted with their services and their equity in their country, have sense enough to march upon City Hall. You march for the NAACP. You march for Jesse Jackson, the adorned Judas. You march for Al Sharpton, king of the bobbleheads. You even marched on behalf of the Pumpernickel Doughboy, which has already been put in check by some of the best. Joe Brown, he put him in check. And now you're faced with the reality of society that they will replace you. They will use your tax dollars to establish their new slaves. And the slaves that they have went out and recruited. Yes, that's what I said. The United States government and a number of those 9 cities put out word. These migrants just didn't show up. They put out words to say that, come on in, come across the border. And when you come across the border, we're going to take care of you. Don't worry about the Afro-American. Don't worry about the black man. He has been subdued. He has been subdued by fantasies and possessions and money and cars. He doesn't realize that all those things are temporary. Ask the people of the 90s. Ask people of 78, 79, that all those things are temporary. As we come closer and closer to election, we have to make a choice. Here in the state of Florida, today is the last day to register to be in the upcoming primary. Most black Americans, and I must quote Charlemagne the God, because he's not a god. He's a dumbass and a race traitor. He's been a dumbass and a race traitor, but you still have those who follow him. He went upon the news and trying to save himself, he threw the Democratic Party under the bus. He threw Joe Biden under the bus. All right? This brother, among others, are a shame to black America. That if you're still watching his show, when you should be watching Lance, you should be watching other programs who give you more conscious observance as conscious observers to the state of black America. They pander to you in hopes that you will not realize that the party's over. Jim Clyburn is stepping down. Yes, He is stepping down, and North Carolina has told him by the number of individuals who turned out for the vote that even though Joe Biden won South Carolina, North Carolina, the Carolinas, whatever, they have decided to stay at home. That he had won by the smallest margin that the nation has ever seen. That the handwriting is on the wall. And as he beefed Kamala Harris, which is Charlemagne the God's piece of bump in the door, because that's who he say he votes for. That's who he say is competent enough. And we all are fully aware that the piss-colored heifer, yes, I'm going to use her AKA this time instead of calling her by her mother's Christian name, that this individual woman is not the hope of Black America. That you are still looking past her slip and looking for the straw man. The straw man is not coming. He is not going to see the wizard, nor is he going to help Dorothy along the yellow brick road. There is no yellow brick road. The yellow brick road has been stolen by the immigrants, just as they stole 454 cars before Valentine's. We don't steal cars like that. And if we steal cars like that, best believe that we're going to be beaten half to death for taking Mr. Charlie's automobile. But they're not citizens. They are not people who value the American way. They do not want to assimilate by their refusal to learn the English language, even though some of them have been here for 10 years. When you learn the English language, you learned it at the end of a whip. You learned it at the end of being bucked. You learned as your children were sold and your women were defamed and raped and sodomized. But, those are little bitty things. But you, the Afro-American, because most Black Americans don't feel that it is necessary to pay so another individual can assimilate into this country. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. But then that leads me to state that on NBC, they had an illegal alien. He said everything but he wanted to be an American citizen. He stated that he wants to work here. That means he wants to take jobs from Americans. That he wants to live here. That means that he wants the government to provide everything necessary that they have denied every other immigrant coming into this country. And then the big one, the one that you should all be concerned about. He doesn't want to pay taxes. He feels that that money should not go to the government, which helped him get in here, but should be sent back home to his family so they can have a better life in another country, and which he has no intention to assimilate into. I have watched, as a conscientious observer, them attack the police again and again and again. I've seen them organize crime syndicates that has pushed Chicago into a ghost town, and New York is not too far behind it. And then, if we can imagine that the possibilities that they will show up in court, it's a revolving door which they do not have to pay to get out. But if you are an American citizen who pays for them, you're going to have to post bail because they need this money to run the criminal justice system that pays their brethren for keeping the Afro-American in line on the Black American. Excuse me. Now, some say, well, Mr. Political, you're making a big hoopla over nothing. That these individuals are here because they have been through so much strife, and that they have been so oppressed and they have been attacked and they have been abused. But this is just a person who is looking at it from a benefit, not from what they have done to others, but a benefit to cheap labor. We will soon see, hear me carefully, we will soon see that the economy will go bust. The further we come closer to the election, the worse the economy is going to get. Those jobs that Joe Biden had talked about so aggressively, yes, you could go get you one of those jobs, but you won't be able to pay your bills because at one junction in the 80s, it took 2 jobs and both parents to bring home the bacon. Now it takes no parents and just baby mamas and daddies who got drama have to hold 2 and 3 jobs just to maintain their children. The man who creates child in America, this America that we see today, is required under Title D casings to provide substance for his child in support of U.S. Social Security Act 42. This act makes it possible for my state, which I live in, under the Privatization Act, to seize assets of men who have born children out of wedlock or have had dissolving relationships. Yes, this is true. If you don't believe me, you can go ask the city councilman for the city of Cocoa in Cocoa, Florida, who has been put on child support by his wife, or AKA known as the baby mama. And she put him on child support because he didn't want to take care of his child. Go figure. A politician, a black politician who don't want to take care of his child, but he's willing to vote for legislation to lock you up. This is the face of the black politician. The black politician will have affairs with Becky and keep it secret and pander to the orange goddess, the Agent Orange goddess, and try to lick up his pants leg in pursuit to be vice president. But no one really cares. They will lean on this new feminist movement, which will allow Nikki Haley to ignore the fact that, yes, another South Carolina, North Carolina, Carolina lackey, whatever. She from that neck of the woods. And in that neck of the woods, she got dirt in her closet when it comes to black people, as well as my state governor, because I'm not just going to point out her shortcomings and not point out the shortcomings of the great DeSantis, the great devil DeSantis, who feels that it's necessary to go out on the national scene and taunt the idea that he doesn't want AP coursing in the state of Florida. But the minute he get put on his ass by Agent Orange, he wants our children to learn the history of communism, the value of communism. This is what the great governor, the great DeSantis, wants to do in the state of Florida. He don't want you to learn about black people, but he wants you to learn about communism. The greatest state of Florida, which has the largest amount of veterans who spent a great deal of their service fighting against individuals who want to pursue the communist way. Now he wants to teach our children. These things are going on, and they're getting worse. And if you have not decided which side that you own, if you have not took a great look in the mirror and say, enough is enough, that I am black, that I am ashamed of Afro-American and Afro-American politics in America, that the only way that you can show civil disobedience in the midst of your house burning down is to be a poor pimp and sit and watch. Most pimps, yes, I'm talking about the black American, not the Afro-American, but the Black American, those who understand the language of the pimp, that you, as the individual, know it's time to get out on the stroll, that it's time to get out there and address the issue with those who are maligning you, who are overlooking you, and who are using you as tools to further their careers and their economic situation. Because if you look at each and every one of those politicians, the black ones, or should I call them Afro-Americans, or should I just say politician with black face, they all go in with little money, but when they leave with their pockets fat, and you wondering whether or not they deserve that money. Okay, that's inside trading, inside information that the black politician today, and that primarily includes the black politicians of the state of Florida, the black politician of the state of Illinois, the black politicians of the state of Tennessee, the black politicians in the state of Texas, the black politicians in the Carolinas. I'm not going to play which Carolina is the biggest Carolina, but they're all lackeys and tar babies, because they keep continuously holding black people back. That those who follow the black politician has no other choice but to hope that Negro ain't lying to you. Got bad news for you. That Negro will lie to you twice on Sunday, once on Monday, and 3 times if you question him about those 2 days. The black politician does not have your interest involved. That, excuse me, that he is a manipulator, that he will use his color and your color to do a Negro spiritual. This is the book that I'm reading. This is the book that is coming in daily. That Negro spiritual, which will put you back, unfortunately, to quote your president, back in chains. Yes. If you don't vote for Joe Biden, that you will go back in chains. If you don't vote for Joe Biden, that you ain't black. If you don't vote for Joe Biden, that everything in life as a black person, because the Afro-American, he does not care where he lay his head. He does not care whether or not he has a roof over his head and whether or not his children eat. Yes, that's true, because all of us know, may it be from coast to coast, all of us know that it's hell trying to receive food stamps. That if you make $1 more than they expect you to make, when they claim that you're poor, that you're not entitled to food stamps. But they will use your taxpayers' dollars through the Department of Agriculture to provide food stamps allotments for migrants. They ain't work. They ain't looking for work. They got to wait for a permit. They knew they could not work when they got here. They knew they needed a permit when they got here. They knew they needed citizenship when they got here. They knew that they needed a place to stay when they got here. They knew that they needed to learn the English language prior to them getting here. Now, from my understanding, from CNN, I got this, that some of them have went through 2 continents in multiple countries and didn't have the time in their slumber, in their rest, in their pursuit of coming across the border to even want to learn how to say thank you, please, and may I. These are the first steps that Black America had to do and had to say to be accepted. But all you got to do now as a migrant is be breather. Now, we're not talking about the number of black women who are dying in childbirth, as New York has already seen that in one day that individuals show up at the hospital and have 365 babies. And I might be wrong, but I know it's in the 300s and 60 is in there somewhere. But they having these babies. Now, all these men on child support. Be fully aware that these individuals who are overlooking the fact that your child was born on public assistance and you had to pay that money back. They don't have to pay back for their children. They don't have to pay anything. They can't be arrested. They can't be judged. But they can judge you and tell you how lazy you are. But I could have misunderstood it because he was speaking in broken English. So when he made that comment, no more money for you, I think he was talking about the Afro-American, because the black person keep his money in his pocket. The black person keep his money hidden inside of his house. And I'm not making this up. Fannie Williams, her father say it's a black thing that we hide money in our houses, that we always got cash on hand. And I'm trying to figure out, knowing his history and association with the Black Panthers, why would he say something silly like that? Why would he even appear in court on behalf of Fannie Williams? And a lot of people are looking at saying, well, they're giving her a raw deal and they just attacking her. But if you follow it closely and you look at what she has done and how she has brought great shame to the black race, but she's acting like an Afro-American, the privileged. All right? She had no business, however you view it. She had no business having no affair with no co-worker who was not qualified to prosecute the most heinous person. These are her words. The most heinous person and a major threat to America. But she wasn't the one. She was doing a career move, and she hoping after this career move has fallen apart, yes, that's what I said, that she may possibly get the stupid Negro, the Afro-American, to find some sympathy in what she has done and what she has not accomplished. She went in like a fireball and came out like a raindrop. And I don't mean the tears from her eyes, because she busted about her bump in the dark, the trips that she made, and how independent she is as a black woman. All right? She need to share that moment with them sisters out there. If a brother take you somewhere, it's a 50-50 and you should give him his cash back. But most black women don't agree to that. All right? But they'll support her efforts. The same ones who will sit up there and say, well, you don't have to give him no money, girl. He's supposed to take you there, but take you that. But in actuality, they support her based upon her color, based upon her gender. This is the Negro spiritual that I speak about. These are the things that are destroying Black America. That the Afro-American is the greatest threat, besides the migrant, to the dissolving and the destruction of the black race in America. That we feel that some form of blind loyalty to those who abuse you is the way to go. That you don't want to get off that horse. You done ride it, you done rode it, you done whipped it, you done fed it, and now the horse don't want to do nothing. The horse ain't been doing nothing. But that's what Afro-Americans like. Now, what shall we do? What can we say? We look at all of the mediums that are on YouTube, because you dare not watch ABC, NBC, and CBS and the Foulée channels. They won't talk about your issues. They will talk about everybody's issue, and they will string a violin to talk about the plights of the migrants. While you have plights, while your children are doing without. Ask the people in Chicago how many of their children will have a bright future. Ask the people in Boston and Denver whether or not their children will have a bright future. Ask the ones in New York, as the housing authority has been shut down and over 76 people in the housing authority has been arrested. And it just happened to be, out of those 75 people, 70 people, over half of them are Hispanics. Not all Hispanics do it, but we can guarantee this. When push comes to shove, they will stand together. I ask you to stand with me in condemning the Democrats, condemning the Republicans. And I ask you to go again and register, but make it no party affiliate. That is your best hope to stop this, is to not claim any political party and send a strong message that this madness must stop. Stand up. Be an example to your children and the future of your children. Do not let your children be fourth-class citizens in this country. Do not allow your children to believe that this is normal behavior because you have stood passive for 2 decades while they prepare to replace you. You have an obligation, even though you are black, even though you are Afro-American, you have an obligation to those in the ground to fight back right now. Not next week, not on November the 4th, but right now. If you still have that civil disobedience in you, you are to pick up your picket sign. You are to pick up your bullhorns. And you are to go to your city council meetings. And you to go to your legislators and call them on the phone. Or even, how about you take a day trip and show up on their doorstep? And when I say this to you, I say this with full confidence that my state representative, my congressman, Senator Posey, he will listen. He will listen to your cries, and he will offer you help, and he will do as he was elected to do. Can I say that about the other politicians of the state of Florida? No, I cannot. Other politicians in the state of Florida, and primarily the black politicians, they're more concerned about their association with their political party than the well-being of your children. When they put their political party first and put their color last and tell you that they can't do nothing for you, they can only do something for everybody, but they can use your plight, your pain, your heritage, your suffering, your loss of life and limb, and even the fact that you will take blood money, just as they did in the 80s in Los Angeles for the gangs killing each children. You still seeking blood money for what the police do. But we're not talking about the police. That's a whole nother story. But what we're talking about is the encroachment to what resources that you have left in America. These resources are small, and your community needs them so much. And if you're not willing, if you have assimilated and you are happy, then you will look the other way as your race is being destroyed in this country, as your race is being denied the same equality as other races who have long-standing life in America. Sooner or later, you're going to have to decide. Sooner or later, you can no longer sit at home and ignore what is occurring. You will have to one day, if you live long enough, explain to your children how everything was lost, how all those in the ground are rolling over in their graves. Yes, A corpse can roll. A corpse can sit up. A corpse can even take breath after it's been deemed dead by a coroner. And that is the status of Black Americans. You are a corpse looking for some reason to show symbolism of your displeasure about your standing in this country. If you're still on Joe Biden's tip, if you're looking at Nikki Haley because you're saying, well, I'm not going to give my vote to Joe Biden, but I'm going to give it to Nikki Haley. But you got to remember, Nikki, little Nikki, not her red Corvette, but little Nikki, don't like black people. She just tolerates you for your vote. But that sounds like your old master, Creepy Joe. What does it take for Black Americans to whisper in Afro-Americans' ear about their ignorance and their pursuit of ignorance? What does it take? Does it take large numbers of military people who are in Atlanta sneaking individuals in and out of airports, letting them sleep in the airport at night, and then transferring them somewhere else in the daytime and then bringing them back at night when your own brethren can be put in jail? Because see, here in the state of Florida, if you're homeless, which they're passing mass laws against the homeless, and this is being lobbied by these same businesses because the homeless embarrasses them when it comes down to they tourists. Yes, this is true, that they're more concerned about making money and making sure that the immigrants got a good life, but their own Americans. These are white and black businesses who are doing this to American people who don't give a damn. How about you keep your money in your pocket? How about you don't come to the state of Florida? How about you do us all a favor, because as you vacation in the state of Florida, the poor people of the state of Florida suffers because you come here. It's no benefit to us. When we hear about you being robbed and killed, we don't care. The only people who care is the police department, who is being funded by those businesses. So at your leisure, you rob any old Fay and any Afro-American that come in the state of Florida, go through their pockets, take everything they got, lay them on the ground and make them empty their pockets. Because it will be a better contribution to the poor, to the homeless, to the veteran, by you showing some form of disregard for their existence. We don't need you in the state of Florida. You don't bring no happiness here. You or your children or your side heifers who take pins to lose weight. We don't want you here. The governor wants you here. The business person who comes into the state of Florida and don't care about the state of Florida wants you here. The small businesses who care about the state of Florida, they have made their voices heard. They have made their voices heard. And their voices saying that they will not participate in it. If you get a chance and you find out any business in the state of Florida which propagates the governor's hateful laws, that you do not spend money with them, that you picket them, that you do not buy their goods, and two, they come up with a better plan. To sit up there and say, well, if we run out of beds, that we're going to arrest you if you find somewhere to rest, because we don't want to see you. We are embarrassed by your existence. And as we make up lies on the Foulée channels on why you're homeless, always keep in mind, the vast majority of people in the state of Florida who are homeless at this time cannot meet these catastrophic rents. They cannot meet these high increased power bills. They cannot put a roof over their head and feed themselves and feed their children at the same time. And even though they're low-end jobs that they got to work 2 and 3 jobs and barely go home and be with their families. They still want you to believe that it is best for EMT and police officers to be celebrated for their sacrifice of not being able to go home to their family. Okay? This is real. This is the state of Florida. And this occurs every day. But that's part of the Negro spiritual that goes on from coast to coast. And as California is about to be underwater, as the border and the Homeland Security Director has been impeached, as I told you he would be impeached, the question is next, in the next chapter of the Negro spiritual, who they going to put in there and whether or not they're going to close the border and why can't they close the border. We got 20 million illegal aliens in here. I think we tapped out. Okay, close the border for 3 years. Close the border for 5 years. No more entries until we get this situation with the 20 million that we got in here now. All right? The 20 million. If you really want to be here, then you need to learn the English language, because very soon you're going to start seeing migrants get killed because they refuse to learn how to speak the English language. They're becoming emboldened, they're becoming arrogant, and they're becoming privileged. And yes, these are hard words to hear from a black man who's supposed to have racial tolerance. But I must always keep in mind, I'm on a clock of 400 years, and I haven't caught up to my racial tolerance yet. I'm still trying to cope with 400 years of Mr. Charlie's rules and regulations, which he just suddenly suspended for someone who is not as light as him, but got the same grade of hair. All right? And as Mr. Charlie don't breed, and he don't breed well with his women, you will notice a vast increase of white Americans and black Americans marrying immigrants. But it's all a trap. If you don't trust, if you don't trust the white girl, and you don't show enough that don't trust the sister, you better not get hooked up with a heifer that don't speak English. Because I'm going to tell you now, she going to have your business with her people, and then you will be on the streets. You will be paying her. It's all the calculated plan to replace you. Now, in closing, because I didn't say my little piece, I didn't give you some enlightenment. I've gave you directions to look. I've even gave you advice. Okay? The advice I give you for each and every black community, prepare yourself for self-sufficiency. Eliminate yourself from this process. That means support your black businesses if they are fair and equal and honest. Remove yourself from any conversation with any black politicians. You come out better with a white politician. At least you know right off the rip you can't trust him. And he don't come as a wolf in sheep's clothing, claiming that he shared the same color as you. If he shared the same color as you, you would see on any media black politicians talking against these migrants. But they're bought and sold, so they can't say anything. And that shows you how disloyal a black-faced politician is, that he will use your color to get what he wants. And once he get what he wants through the ignorant YouTube and boob tube, he will abandon you until the next time he needs you. And he will start singing, what? The Negro spiritual. The Negro spiritual. That if you don't put me in the office, I can't do nothing to help you. So put me in the office. But when they get in the meeting behind the meeting, I'm not giving those Negroes nothing. I'm going to use them until I can't use them no more. That's part of the replacement theory. To put on every medium black faces, not black Americans, black faces, because they must hit the makeup room before they go in front of the boob tube. And they will tell you and say anything. And that go for the black women too. Because there ain't no hope. And I know I ain't the only brother out there that's getting tired of seeing black men being portrayed on every channel as being gay. It's getting pathetic. It's getting ignorant. And it's becoming disrespectful. Every black man in America is not gay. That those black-faced gay individuals who get on TV do not represent black American men. They might represent the gelding called the Afro-American, which chooses to act out of his sex because he don't see no up in his sex. He don't see no up in his black manhood. He see it as a shame, not a badge of courage. He see it as defaming to his career goals. You will go on each and every channel, and they got a black face in there, and they always, when it comes down to black issues, or should I say Afro-American issues, that they will turn on their people because they get paid to do that. All right? They have no self-respect for themselves. That's why I call them black faces. They are nothing but clowns who wear blackface and their hearts are white because they feel that by being and doing the bidding of their masters, they even have an empathetic heart for the migrants but have no heart and the greatest hatred of black people. And they peddle it to the Afro-American to convince him that that ideology, that theory of racism, which is not a race of people, but a political ideology. And what is showing us today is that political ideology of Afro-American is to destroy black America, to be in assistance in destroying black American in receiving of 30 pieces of silver from Lazarus' table. This is true. This cannot be made up. You will see it each and every day on YouTube. You will see it each and every day on the TV media that they are not your friends. And the only way that you can show that you are paying attention is to march upon your city halls, to go into your city council meeting if you have a general population of 80% within your city, to go and state to these individual black faces that you don't want them here, that the best thing for them, if they do not want to assimilate, if they do not want to understand that it took us 400 years to be part of the process and they haven't even been doing it for 8 years and they having a difficult time, that you fully understand that if you raise your voice, raise your hand, or displeased by the police, that it's gunplay and your life is threatened, but they are given the revolving door, that when you are finding yourself in a situation incarcerated with them, that you have to post bail and they don't. If that ain't enough to get you to understand that they are not the victim, that you're the victim, then you have lost your mind. You have lost your ever-loving mind. And it's time for you to come back to conscious understanding on what is necessarily needed to be done, to strengthen your communities, not to allow them into your community. Because here in my city, they are taking over. They are taking over. That the consent decree that we fought so aggressively for to make it better for our children, that very soon they will be sitting upon the city council putting in laws to put you in place, to keep you in place at the bidding of Mr. Charlie. This is a lot to swallow. But I ask you, even if you don't understand what I'm saying to you, if you think what I'm saying to you is falsehood, If you think I'm just some racist black man who got a qualm and don't know how to get over hurt of 400 years, that I'm wrong for being protective of my own people, then you're really sick. You're a really sick individual. When you think that your efforts, your time, and your tax dollars should go to better their life instead of stabilizing and making it possible for our children to have equality in this country, and if you want to put all your efforts into migrants who don't even want to learn the English language when you knew that your great-great-grandfather was sodomized, that your great-great-grandmother was raped and her children were taken from her, that your great-great-grandparents was whipped until they acknowledged the names, the government names. Because if it's all equal and they need the help, then how about they drop them R's from their last name and start taking Mr. Charlie's last name? Johnson, Howard, Smith. Even if we go back to 89, that the most notorious police officer, his name was Coon. How about Lupe take the last name Coon? But don't bring them Hispanic names in here, especially if you don't want to learn English. And you feel that you don't need to, it's going to get you killed because things are getting tight and no one wants to see them. They don't want to be in this country because of what they claim that they ran for. They want to be in this country for economic growth so they can send money out the country. They don't want to pay taxes, but you're forced to pay taxes. And if I remember my American history, you don't have to pay taxes. You don't have to give the federal government nothing anymore, all right? Because they're not representing you. They're not providing for you. You're not being treated equal. You're not giving the same benefits of America. Because if you're getting the same benefits of America, then why is it that they can try to give $90 billion to Ukraine? And nobody's asking, what are we going to get in return other than our sons and daughters end up in a global war? Every time they talk to you about Ukraine, you need to be asking, even the dumb Afro-American, because I know the black person is asking this question, what are we getting out the deal? And don't talk about furthering the democratic ideas because we're not getting that. So why are you in support of giving them money? Why are you in support of giving the migrants money? Why are you so concerned about the migrants' safety when they're ganging up? And it was announced on Fox News that the vast majority of them are here not to assimilate and be Americans. They're here to rob Americans. That the vast majority of those who came across the border are criminals who don't even supposed to be here. That the cartels are sending them in here. Look at Chicago. Chicago downtown is a ghost town, and New York City is not too far behind it. It's getting ugly out there, people. And you need to pay attention. And you need to open your voice. And you need to put back on your tennis shoes, your jean dresses, your pretty T-shirts. And yes, it won't be Martin Luther King Day. And no, it won't be no Martin Luther King parade with drums and cheerleaders and motorcycles and all like that. But it will be as powerful as that if you will get off your anus and go down to the city hall and go down to your city council meetings. And even though you feel that it is not touching your town because you can't see it, it is happening in each and every town that has large populations of black people. Because they're not going into white neighborhoods. They're not parking them in white neighborhoods. They're parking them in your neighborhood, and it's coming to a town near you. And they're going to take your children's resources, and they're going to make it difficult for your child to get an education because they don't speak English. They don't want to speak English. They ain't trying to speak English. And yes, if you want to be in this country, you're going to have to learn how to speak English, because we're not going to learn how to speak Spanish. Before we learn how to speak Spanish, we'll put your cold, taco-eating ass in the ground. And no, that's not a threat. That's a promise. Before you force us to speak Spanish, you and your children's lives will be threatened. People have had enough. And if you're listening, Creepy Joe, and you want to have me arrested like you had that 79-year-old man arrested because he killed one of the migrants because he got tired of them coming in there and destroying his property and threatening his 83-year-old wife, this stand, I will stand with Mr. Charlie's left dripping of his right nut. That man should have killed that migrant. I don't care if he did it from over 1,500 feet away with a what do they call it, R-15? See, I don't do guns, but my trigger fingers still work. Because I know if you catch me wrong, I'm going to put one in you. And I'm indiscriminate about where I put my leg. Now, we at that junction in America. And even though the medias which you listen to tell you that we way beyond that, well, I got bad news for you. When you live in privilege, when you live far removed from the problem, you will take that attitude. If you don't think it's touching you yet, you will take that attitude. If you feel that you will be way above that, very soon you will take that attitude. Because as your children are being denied their hopes and birthrights, you will have to make a choice. When your children can't have, we've already seen during these holidays that your children ain't have. Okay? So I'm asking each and every one of you that you, in the first step, is to register to vote. But do not register any political party. Do not register under the belief that some blackface Stacey Abrams, who got over 400,000 black men to commit to registering to vote for the Democratic Party, and then her ass was handed to her by Joe Biden on TV. And she looked like a fool, and the next move she made, she ran to Africa to pimp her game. Pimping ain't easy. It's the only game that a trick hoe can do when you weigh close to 300 pounds. Yes, I made a comment about her weight. I didn't make a comment about her hair, but I made a comment about her weight. Okay, I can't say nothing about her hair because her hair is part of their movement. But her weight, oh, that's open game. Okay? It ain't a donut safe at Dunkin' Donuts when Stacey Abrams come to Atlanta. All right? It might be a smoke shop, but a donut shop? Nah. And no, she ain't Nikki Parker, because ain't nothing cute about her, and Nikki is cute. All right? Nikki is cute. That's a big girl that's cute. Stacey Abrams is just that, a big girl. Okay? A big girl with a bad attitude who do not like black men. And she ain't the only one. These are black-faced politicians. I'm talking about Miss Jackson Lee, horseface. She don't care nothing about black men. And it was shown by the black men in her constituents that she wasn't even fit enough to be a mayor of Houston. You need to pay attention, black people. You need to pay attention, and you need to pull your support from the Black Congressional Caucus, because they a joke. They there for the lunchroom, the personal trainers, the limousine, and the security. All right? And just because you got a black speaker at the House, he ain't got the same power that Nancy got. Or he wouldn't be sitting up there talking that bold-faced crap he talking. That when he did his State of the Nation address after the president spoke, he would have spoke about your issues, the things that affect you. But he talked about the things that only affect the Democratic Party. You're a tool. okay? And if you allow yourself on November the 4th to be a tool, then whatever occurs after that, you brought on yourself. There ain't no racism, because at any junction you can stop this. So when you get betrayed on November the 4th and you wake up in the wet spot on November the 5th, it ain't got nothing to do with racism. Not a thing to do with racism, because you can stop it at any time that you would like. All you have to do is pull yourself away from the distractions and be about your business. And your business is to make sure that your children and that your mothers and fathers and your great-grandfathers' dream of being equal in this country come true. If you still feel that those people's dreams are worthy, then it's time to get out in the streets and fight. And I don't mean physical fight, but send strong messages. Sit-ins is a good thing. If you go to your city council meeting with your signs and sit there and protest, lock their meetings down. Go to those individuals where, as Mr. Charlie's doing with the Freedom Train, do not give them substance, right? How about this? If you want to show real displeasure, how about you don't pay your taxes? How about you don't file your taxes? Because the refund that you get ain't worth the paper that it's written on. Because they're robbing from Peter to pay Paul, and they robbing you, Paul. They robbing you, Paul, and they getting you for all that you worth. And like the old saying, the best way to get Paul is head down and ass up. Because that's where the position you in right now. With your head in the sand and your ass is prepared to get stabbed, to get beat, or like the kids say, to get smashed. Because that's what's going to occur. If you vote for any of those political parties, and you say, well, why should we register to vote and not vote for one of the candidates? Well, if you're paying attention and you ain't going with the popularity contest, then you know neither one of them candidates care about your issues. So that's a vote wasted. That's a vote wasted. But you still register to put those numbers into play. So they fully understand that we still hold the ballot box. We just don't know how to use the ballot box properly. And that's the first step to education. That's the first step to freedom. Learning how to use the ballot box. Because one of our great leaders said that we can either use the ballot box or we can use the bullet. And I know you keep saying, and you say, well, that boy going to get in trouble for what he say. Well, I'm not concerned with that. Okay, I'm not concerned with that. Because if the Arab didn't kill me in Lebanon, and if the Russians didn't kill me in the Mediterranean, I ain't going to be afraid of Mr. Charlie's left dripping up his right nut confused stepchild. He's my least worry. His encroachment upon me is not going to occur, because at each and every day he knocks upon my door looking for an ally against the invader. That his concern is more concerned with the invader than his old hatred. Not saying that he won't resort to his hatred, but it ain't like you don't know he hates you. So how about cut a deal? Because they in trouble as well as we in trouble. Because you got 20 million illegal aliens in this country. You hear me? 20 million. And Mr. Charlie is willing to make a deal. He's willing to put old feelings aside so he can save his country. That's what the Republicans are doing. The Democrats are practicing the replacement theory. The Republicans are trying to get you to be Americans and help save this country. But in the process of them trying to get you to save this country, You make sure you get you a straw man that's willing to cut a deal to get you what your people need, to get you what you need to be fully invested in this country. And that's our only salvation, is to register to vote for no political party and look for the straw man to go to Mr. Charlie's left dripping of his right nut grandchild and say it's time to cut a deal, or we all gonna be ass out. You know what I'm saying? We all gonna be ass out, because contrary to belief, there's a lot of poor white people at the bottom of the scale who is catching as much hell as you. And they are very displeased with the white politician who keeps moving the goalposts so these individuals can get in, so these individuals can have more than you have, but you work for a living. Ain't nobody gave us nothing. Ain't nobody went out their way with no legislation to give me jack. All they've been giving me is hell. And maybe it's time to start giving them hell, because that's the only thing that they really understand is hell. And the vast majority of black-faced politicians, they go into hell. But if they come and they show up in your church, make sure you know that you have gave a reservation. You have gave welcome to the devil. That's the only thing a black politician can do, is lie to you from the pulpit of the church every 4 years, every 8 years. And then he goes up there and he goes after causes, and he fights aggressively for causes that don't benefit you. I have not in my life seen so many black-faced politicians that are so willing to tell you that the best thing for you is to abort your children, to abort black children. And you good with that, because you don't love your children. White people love their children more than you love your children, because they don't even sit up there and accept any of that. And don't say, well, she won't be able to thrive and she won't be able to have a rise and it's prenatal care. Abortion is not prenatal care. I don't care how the lie is told to you. Abortion is not prenatal care. They do not provide women sufficient enough medical attention, poor women, that they could call abortion prenatal care. That's what they're all about, abortion. Okay? That's what they're about. Now, this is your boy, Mr. Political, asking each and every one to view land shows, view all those others who are out there and trying to inform you as we move close to November 4th on what the real skinny is in America. Please listen. Find in your busy schedule, hear me carefully, because if you can take time out for the Super Bowl, and if you can support those who pick cotton for the NFL and put cotton in orange hoops for the NBA, then you got time to see about the future of not only black children, but those children that we need to pray for each day who are born to Afro-American parents. Because it is clear by the things that they covet that they children, which they show each day by standing silent, don't matter. This is your boy, Mr. Political. It may seem to others that it was short, and even to others that it was ignorant and sweet. But just the same, the First Amendment allows you to bring comment to the table, a table which neither the black American or the Afro-American wants to sit at and have a conversation about their children's future. This is your boy, Mr. Political, and I am out.
Make sure to go to LANCESCURV.com, an online magazine established in 2001, containing written articles, thousands of talk shows and discussions, cutting-edge cartoons, as well as erotic expressions and tasteful adult photography. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. Once you get a taste of the world of LANCESCURV, trust me, you'll be back for more. LANCESCURV.com. Bold, raw, and uncut.